There's three basic forms for tax filing. There's the 1040 EZ, the 1040A, and the 1040. The EZ and the A are what's called the short forms. And that's because with the 1040 EZ, you pretty much, that's all you fill out, is just that one form. And with the 1040A, there's pretty much only one or two other forms that you would attach to it. The 1040 is the long form, and remember how I had mentioned before that there was a tax form for any possible situation you could ever think of? These all get attached to the 1040. So when you file the 1040, it could potentially be like 26 pages or something. It could be a lot. It depends on your situation, but so that's the long form. We start with defining what makes a dependent. A dependent on your taxes is somebody that you are financially responsible for. Human. First requirement, they have to be human. Can't claim your pets. And then they have to be qualifying. Yeah, no aliens. So they have to be qualifying dependents, which means, yeah, maybe you have a roommate and your roommate is a deadbeat and you end up paying all their bills. They're not your dependent. A dependent has to be a family member, like your parents or your kids or your spouse, or maybe you take care of your nieces and nephews, things like that, that they live with you. They have to, yes, they could be. Depend. There's the relative thing. There's certain relatives that can and can't, and that gets a little gray. So you'd want to double check. Anybody that you are a legal guardian of, like if you have foster kids, or you know, you maintain legal guardianship of some other children for whatever reason, or if you have like a sibling that isn't capable of taking care of themselves and you're their legal guardian, you know, things like that. You can, under certain circumstances, claim your significant other even if you're not married, but there's special circumstances there. No, that's you're thinking common law marriage. Yeah, it's not, you can, there has to be restrictions on whether or not they work. You know, you have to be supporting 100% of their, you know, there's like things like that. And there's actually, if you were to go onto the IRS website, there's actually a little quiz that you can do, and you answer some questions, and it tells you whether or not you can claim them. So, like I said, that website has lots of good information. An exemption lowers your amount of taxable income. So exemptions get subtracted from your income. So if you make $10,000 and the exemption is $2,000, you now have $8,000 you're going to be taxed on. You get one exemption for yourself, and you get one exemption for every dependent. So the current exemption amount, I think, is $3,800 this year. So if you had two people, you and your kid, you get to claim $7,600 and deduct that from your income. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, 1040 EZ, it's the most simple form to use. It's the quickest, it's the fastest, it's the easiest. That's why it's called the EZ. But it also has the most restrictions as to who can use it. Only certain people can use the 1040 EZ. The first, you have to be single or married filing jointly. So anybody that's head of household or married filing separately can't use this. Only those two groups can use this. You cannot have any dependents other than yourself and your spouse. So if you support your spouse and they're your dependent, they can be on here because you've married filing jointly, but you can't have any kids or any other dependents that you're taking care of. You have to be actually married to them. You have to have an income of less than $100,000 which, to be honest with you, if you have an income more than $100,000, you're probably not filing an easy form anyway, because you're going to have bank interest and stocks and other things that are going to need to be taken care of. You can only have certain types of income. So wages, salary, tips, certain scholarships are taxable, so those can go on there, and unemployment. Oh, bank interest, I believe, also. But no stock dividends, no royalties, no commissions, nothing complicated or unusual. It has to be like really basic, I went to work, they gave me a paycheck kind of wages. Tips, like if you have a tipping job, waitressing or waiting or, yeah. Okay, and your taxable interest from your bank has to be less than or equal to $1,500. So if you earned more than $1,500 in interest, you can't use this form either. A food editor for a magazine. So like she writes the food or takes care of the food section of the magazine. So, recipes and restaurant reviews or whatever. She got a W-2 from her employer and the 1099 from her bank. So this is bank interest here. She is going to fill out a form 1040EZ because she's single. She only has the one job. Right. Her taxable income is box 1. Now, this is where everybody needs to get out those packets and pull out the 1040EZ form. And we're going to kind of bounce back and forth between here and here. Okay. And we're going to fill this out. These out. Your name obviously goes up at the top, your social security number, whatever that is. Okay, this part you only fill out if you're married filing jointly, which Elizabeth is not. Her home address. Okay. Goes there. This part you only fill out if you're an American citizen earning money in the United States but living in a foreign country, you fill this part out. Okay. Presidential election campaign. You can, if you would like to, donate $3 to the president for his next election every year during taxes. Check this box if you want to do that. Okay. Income. And it tells you, as you look through this, if you read these, wages, salaries, and tips, box 1 of your W-2. So it tells you exactly where to go. Box 1, so $83,600 goes right here. Okay. Taxable interest. If it's over $1,500, you cannot use 1040EZ. It says so right on the form, so it's got the directions pretty much built in. Her interest is right here, 956, less than 1,500, so we're good there. Then as we continue through the form, unemployment or an Alaska permanent fund dividends. Remember somebody mentioned that the other day, you get paid to live in Alaska? That's that thing right there. Then you add lines 1, 2, and 3. Unemployment compensation. If you collect unemployment, you do have to pay income tax on that. A lot of people don't realize that when they sign up for it, and so they don't put money aside. But you do pay income tax on unemployment. Now, these lines, you can either leave them blank or you can put zeros in them. I usually just leave them blank. Okay. Here we go. If someone can claim you as a dependent. Okay, so this is, like Zena, this would be like your situation where you're saying like your mom could claim you or something, but you're still working. If you're filling out your taxes and they're claiming you, you would check here. And then if no one can claim you, so this is if no one can claim you, you enter 9,750 if single, or 19,500 if married filing jointly. We're going to do 9,750. Oh, that was incorrect. Yeah. Yeah. But she'll really want to double check on that because it's like a $3,000 difference in her just the income that gets taxed. So, okay, so we're going to subtract these two lines. Which it says right here to do, subtract line 5 from line 4. Okay, this is her taxable income. Now, remember I said that you get an exemption for yourself. You also get a standard deduction. On the 1040 EZ, those are built in together. So that's what this number is. Okay, the next thing we want to look at is the federal income tax withheld from W-2 and 1099. Well, if we go back to our W-2 and our 1099, federal income tax withheld is right here. It would be right here on the 1099, but 1099s very rarely have that. Most of the time they do not. But you always check just to make sure. So 15,884 goes right here. Earned income credit, we will look at this later, but right now we're not going to look at the earned income credit, so we're just going to assume that Elizabeth doesn't qualify for it. Actually, I'm not actually assuming. I know she doesn't qualify for it. Her income is too high. And we'll talk about that a little bit later some more. 15884. Sorry, that 5 is running into the... Okay. Non-taxable combat pay election. You had to be in combat to get that. So we're going to ignore that. She's a food critic. I doubt she's been in combat. Okay, we're going to...
Really? You know how,
Okay, I meant like military, real combat, not, catty food critic combat. I do know. Yeah, that's true. But she still probably didn't get that. So we'll add those together. This is how much she's paid in taxes, okay? Now, there's two things. There's tax deductions and tax credits. Tax deductions reduce your tax bill by reducing your income. Credits reduce your tax bill by counting as tax you've paid even though you didn't. So it adds to like the total you paid. So that's why you add those two lines to get it together. Now tax. Use the amount in line 6 above, that's right here, to find our tax in the tax table, our handy dandy tax table. So we're looking for 74,000. So I'm going to go to the 70,000s. $806. Here's 800. There's 850. 806 is in there. So her tax, which goes on line 10, is 14,736. You guys need to see that better? See where I got it? Now, this is how much she's paid. This is how much she actually owed. If 9 is bigger than 10, you get a refund. If 10 is bigger than 9, you owe money. So you subtract 9 minus 10, so 15,884 minus 14,736, and she's going to get a refund of $1,148. And then if this is you and you're actually turning in your own 1040 Easy paper refund, you're going to fill out all this information if you want direct deposit. Otherwise, they'll mail you a check. And then you have to sign here and date it and put in your occupation and all this. You fill out the rest of it. But are there any questions about filling out this part of the 1040 Easy? Yes. Easies aren't too bad, right? That's why they're called the 1040 Easy, because they're pretty easy. Okay, no questions on that then?